Hello, everybody, and welcome to an episode of New Rollers. Yes, that's right. Our D&D podcast series so far that will eventually turn into a real play. We'll have an update on that later. I'm your host, Alec Bobco, and I'm joined by Jordan and Leeron. How you guys doing tonight?
Delightful.
Fantastic.
So, for those of you who might be asking, what is New Rollers? Well, we started this journey last year, honestly, unintentionally, almost a year to the day is when we released the Shared Screens podcast, where I talked about my experience playing D&D for the first time. So it's pretty much been a year since I've started getting into D&D. And if you go back and watch that podcast, you can literally see Leeron, like the gears start turning and her just seeing that deep dive ahead of her.
You just watch my ADHD go, this is our new hyperfixation.
Yep. Like it's just hilarious. You could literally see it in real time.
And it's lasted an entire year.
It's still going. It's still
It's
going.
still going. But yeah, we've done a few episodes so far. Like we've had where we created our characters that we're eventually going to be playing. We had a conversation with Corey about getting into D&D and kind of a D&D 101. And then we had another episode.
We had Professor RPG Scott White on to talk
Yes.
about his DMing and his process and just kind of pick his brain about all things Dungeons and Dragons because I didn't know what it was at all. But yeah, those are all great. They're all great to listen to.
We also had one with Adam Gumby as well.
Yes, but that never went out because one of the files got fucked up.
Oh no, I did not know that. This is me learning that now.
Sorry, I guess I never told you. It was
I feel like when Trump found out that Ruth Bader Ginsburg died, I'm like, you're telling me for the first time. Hold me closer, tiny dance. Sorry.
Good God. But yeah, one of our video files on that got fucked up.
Technology.
Technology really just sometimes goes to fuck you. You don't get to put out this content.
Yeah, no matter how many backups you have.
No. And the thing I think that like is upsetting about technology is like when you start to learn about it is you find out sometimes it just does it and it's not like there is not we could fix this or we should have done this. It's just no, this is what happened.
Yeah.
Why? Because God hates you today.
Yep.
Yeah, straight up.
Yep.
It's like making a souffle, you know?
Like, yeah, no, honestly, that's kind of accurate. Is like just sometimes it's gonna fall apart and we'll have no idea why. And there's no way to fix it. It just is.
Yeah.
Speaking of falling apart, but not quite yet, we're gonna Leeron, give us an update on where our soon-to-be D&D campaign lies.
Anybody who's played D&D before can speak to how fucking hard it is to figure out when your party can meet to do the campaign. And I thought people were exaggerating a little bit, and then I tried to do it. And so our original DM had to leave the state he lives in for a period of time.
That makes him sound like a felon.
He's not a felon. It was just something I'm not going into on content.
Yep. Totally understandable.
I promise he's not a felon. And then it turned into me seeking DMs that had time and figuring out like a DM that would be chill with a lot of new players and having to possibly handhold a little bit more and like playing things at a lower level and timing that would work where we'd be able to consistently make it, which I am still doing. If you are a DM that has no party and you want to wrangle this chaotic mess of a party, hit me up because I have a couple that I'm talking to that I'm trying to work it out with, but like whoa, I said this before we started rolling. I now understand people who are like, no, our game night has been the same day, same time for 10 years. Yeah, you found a time that works. You can't change it.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Straight up. Like
that, but then sometimes it's, life just finds a way.
Yeah. Life finds a way.
So yeah, that's our update. It's still happening. Just things in the background. Sometimes things happen.
Scheduling is awful.
Yeah. So it's the campaign will still happen. We're still working about how it's actually going to look. I thinking it probably might be a pre-recorded thing, but if it turns out to be live, we'll let you know.
Yeah,
So stay
that's the
tuned to
other
those
thing
socials.
too, is, pay attention to our socials for how it's gonna work, because it's just a lot of there are so many ways to play digital D&D, it's just figuring out the logistics and what works best
Mhm.
for everybody. However, I've told every DM that I have talked to that I don't trust computerized dice, I don't think they're as random as real dice, so I would like our party to be able to use real
Yep.
dice. Because I don't think I have the same chance of getting a nat 20 when I roll it
I wanna
versus
know
what
the
a computer
algorithm.
does. Yeah,
I actually
like
learned kind of a quick side tangent, but I actually learned that the ones on D&D Beyond, like they actually have like a physics system that actually like rolls it. So it actually is like it's not just like an algorithm, like a predetermined thing.
I would much rather it just be a no, it's literally an RNG 1 through 20. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts.
Mhm.
But, like, I
that
don't know,
was a
unless
6.
they prove it.
Yeah.
I really wanted to roll this and it be a 20, but it was a
See, I
6.
keep going like, "Oh, do I wanna, like, roll my dice, like, before we actually start?" But then part of me is like, "Well, don't, like, really do it because like, what if, like, you" I don't know, like, it
What
just
if
feels like
you think you're gonna curse your dice?
I don't know. I'm just like, save them, you know? Make it like a
I'm
wedding night.
save it for the stop. Hey, honey, the
All
wedding's
right.
over. Try to time to roll out the Dungeons and Dragons dice.
Fuck, I
Well,
rolled too low. I fucking struggle taking off your bra
yeah.
like a 12-year-old.
So moving on, um, trying to rein in this chaos a little bit as best I
Sorry.
can. Um,
Sometimes
so
we do
as
podcasts where Alec becomes our dad, and
Yeah.
Jordan and I are just his chaotic
Just
children.
me and Lear
yeah.
me and Lear yesterday on Snapchat, I sent her a video of a vape I bought that was, like, super tiny, like, smaller than a lighter. I was like, "Look how cute this little vape is." And Lear goes, "It's just a baby." I reply with where is it? I reply with, "Just a little guy." And she goes, "A little dude, if you will." I go, "A little fella even." And we're just laughing about this. It's like at midnight.
And I have to tell you, I have to put us on blast. We do this
All the
every
time.
time one of us says little dude or little
Oh yeah,
guy.
got to.
We
Got
immediately go back and
Back and
forth with different ways to
Oh yeah.
say it.
Oh yeah, got to.
It's our worst trait.
It's our version of, like, in How I Met Your Mother where they have, like, general knowledge. We're like,
Oh
"It's
yeah.
only for
It's
us."
just us.
Yep. Yep.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So
Anyway,
yeah, moving on to kind of the topic of the show because we were trying to come up with something to podcast about this weekend, and since we've all been getting into D&D and like actually watching some D&D campaigns, a lot of the ones that we've been actually been watching have been through Dropout's Dimension 20.
Shout out.
And yeah, so I figured for if you don't know what Dimension 20 is, it's people
Great.
it's great first of all. A group from Dropout, or like I guess formerly College Humor, come together and basically just play D&D. And it's they bring in guests sometimes. Like on one of their more recent series, they had Hank Green on an episode or a series. Freddie Wong was on that same one. Very very good one.
yeah.
And so my thought was just, hey, we've been watching a lot of this D&D content. Let's rank the Dimension 20 series that we've watched.
Yeah, because honestly, I'm looking at it, and between the 3 of us, we've watched a huge chunk of their content.
I've definitely watched the least, I'll say that.
But I think you've watched a lot of the ones that Alec and I haven't watched, because you watched Escape from Bloodkeep, right?
I've watched A Tiny Heist and Escape from Bloodkeep, yeah.
Which
Yeah,
I
I've
have not watched.
yep,
Yeah,
no.
and then Alec and I have watched The Seven, which you haven't watched, although I
No.
highly recommend. It's so good.
Yeah.
Um,
So, Leeron, how about since you were kind of the first to, as least to my knowledge, to start into the Dimension 20 series, give us your rankings.
so top always and forever will be Unsleeping City season 1, chapter 1. It is
Okay.
my favorite campaign that they've ever done. I love every single character in that campaign. I am
Mhm.
deeply attached. Kingston Brown from Uptown is one of my favorite
Yeah.
characters in
Yep.
existence. I love Pete. I love the wild magic surge shit that they do. And I think that was the first time I watched any D&D where the entire party essentially is magic. Like, there's
Yeah,
not, like, really
not for me.
barbarians or fighters, yeah.
Mhm.
Um,
Closest
which
thing
is
would be
just
monk.
the closest would be, yeah, Emily as a monk, which she's not even a monk right from the get-go.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of insane. Um,
Mhm.
I love La Gran Gata, the bodega cat.
Yes.
Like, it's just everything about
Also,
it.
should be said, we'll try to keep this as spoiler free as possible, but
Yeah.
yes.
Um, Especially because my immediate follow-up to Unsleeping City is a more recent one that Alec is currently watching, and I don't want to spoil any of it.
Mhm.
Burrow's End is so good it makes me mad. Burrow's End is so
So,
good.
you're going from top to bottom of your list?
Yeah, should I not be doing that?
I mean, you can. It's your list, so you can say however you want.
I'm very bad. I know everybody on the planet usually does like the one they like the least. I always I like
Mhm.
it's
Yeah,
like
no worries. It's your list.
yeah.
Do what you want.
But Burr's End is so fun. It's like
Mhm.
Watership Down, but with stoats. And I love stoats. If you haven't watched the video where we make our characters, my character has a weasel. Um,
Mhm.
I love weasels. I love
Also,
stoats.
shout out to Inscription. First time I ever heard about a stoat.
Yeah, I love stoats. And it's like a Watership Down type of thing, which if you've been traumatized by Watership Down, you know. I have in fact been traumatized by Watership Down as a child.
I have not.
I don't
Oh
even know what
god.
Watership Down is.
It's a book about bunny politics and the bunnies die and it's really, really fucked
Oh.
up. It's
Topic for a
really
different
it's
day.
dark. I read it because when I was a child, I loved the Warrior Cats books, and somebody went, "Oh, if you like those, you should read Watership Down." And fuck that
Mm,
person. Fuck that person.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, so Burrow's End is super fun. It was also, I think, the first campaign I watched. Or no, I guess I had watched the seven, so it wasn't the first time I had watched a Bria DM. I guess it's the first time I watched a Bria DM where they had battle maps because the 7 was during COVID, so they're all sitting at separate little
Well,
tables.
she didn't DM the 7. That was Brennan.
Oh my god, that was Brennan. She's just in it. So yeah, this was the
Mhm.
first one I watched that Abria
Yep.
DM'd. Yeah, I know what's up. I love Abria as a DM. She is
Mhm.
different than Brennan, but I appreciated it. Um, and it's wild. There's so much shit that happens in it, and Alec can confirm the first battle set
Yeah.
is so insane.
Insane.
And there is nothing better than watching Brennan Lee Mulligan be a single mom to Siobhan Thompson and his
Yes.
wife.
Yes.
It's just the dynamics at that table are great. The two guests they have in for that season are stupendous. Um,
Mhm.
and then after that, I feel like it's Crown of Candy just because I am a Game of Thrones bitch and
Mhm.
love like political thrillers like that. And it was just so creative and like I have very aggressive opinions on all of the characters in Crown of Candy.
Mhm.
Um and like strong feelings about like what they do, which is interesting. Like,
Yeah, that was definitely kind of a divisive series, I guess.
yeah. Like,
Really?
yeah, dude, there's some things that there is a character that it has nothing to do with the players. It has literally nothing to do with the players. I think in a removed stance from the game that what the players are doing makes sense for those characters. I just
Yep.
don't like what those characters are doing and I don't agree with them politically. And so it's really crazy.
Mhm.
Um but that was like the best part of Game of Thrones too is like and Zach Oyama is one of the funniest people I've ever heard in my life, and
Yes.
him playing a chocolate
Yes.
bunny is just very fun for me. I love that character. I
Mhm.
think I love every character he's ever played because Ricky is from Unsleeping City is
Oh, yeah.
also and Gorgug
Yep.
is my sweet son.
Yep.
um the not even spoilers, but I guess mild spoilers for Fantasy High junior year. But Gorgug looking at a cop and going, "You got a fucking warrant?" It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life.
You got a fucking warrant?
Like it's so funny. This season is so good because watching Gorgug just slowly lose his mind.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh my god. And yeah, I think after Crown of Candy, it just gets into Fantasy High. I love Fantasy High. It was a Fantasy
Mhm.
High is a really, really good way to get into D and D.
Yeah.
It really is. That's the first one that I watched, and that's Yeah, because I
It
tried
because
watching the critical roles and stuff, and it was just too
yeah.
much for me, but after our episode with, Corey and D&D 101, we were talking about that, and that was the first one I got into, and it's just been on the train ever since.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, like, I think what helps with it is Fantasy High was the first time Allie was playing, so you have
Mhm.
somebody who's literally never done it before, which is
Yeah,
helpful, but then you also have people like Murph who eats, sleeps, and breathes D&D,
yeah.
um, and it's
And then
just
just, like, the world being, this is literally adventuring, like, 101, like,
yeah, it's
I feel like it's a
super
made for, like, this is a intro to D&D type of show.
yeah, it's super the setting is really accessible
Yeah.
because, like, there are fantasy elements, but it's also kind of set in our world, so, like,
Yep.
it is a very I feel like it's one of the most accessible ways to get into D&D, and it is all you don't have to have a Dropout subscription to watch the first season, it is all on their YouTube channel.
I think the second one is too in the lead up to they did for junior or year.
Junior year, yeah,
Yeah.
and the 2nd season is fucking phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
The 2nd season is
You'll see
so
that on my
good.
list. Yep, that's pretty high on my list.
Uh, yeah, like and then I feel like I shouldn't and then I like, when I say Fantasy High, the 7 is also in there because I love the 7, it's just, like, Unsleeping City and Burrow's End hit me, like, right in a
Mhm.
spot I like. Um, and then I feel like I can't include Never After because as much as I love it, I'm only halfway through.
Gotcha.
But it's very good so far, it's fucked up. Uh,
Mm.
when they said Twisted Fairy Tales, I don't know what I thought, but it was not a full-on body horror season.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
You explained part of this to me.
There's a lot of body horror in Never After, which I was not prepared.
Alrighty.
But so far, I love it. The only thing I can't take seriously is this isn't a spoiler. This is literally you find it out in the first 5 seconds of the campaign.
Mhm.
Lou is Pinocchio,
Oh.
and so he talks in this voice up like this the entire time, and
Oh gosh.
I can't take it serious. Him telling people to fuck off in that voice, I like cannot take it seriously.
That might be one I can't watch at work or listen to at work because man,
You'll just start
Lou
laughing.
Lou is just like he is probably my favorite person like on Dimension 20. Like he's one of those people that he can be as serious as you want, but man, when he is just hamming it up and just going for comedy,
Have to
he
get
just
my
Oh, yeah.
kisses
he's just
in.
like a straight line to my funny bone.
Yeah, it's I love him. I think that's also part of why Fantasy High is so fun too, is because they all are just teenage friends, and so
Yeah.
they're all just being morons.
Yeah.
Um, like I just like I and like the first episode of Fantasy High is just so the way they set up the party meeting is so
Yeah.
funny. And it's funny because none of it's planned. It
No.
doesn't
Not
go
at
the
all.
way that if you sat Brett and Lee Mulligan down and went, "How do you think the first episode of Fantasy High is going to go?" It would not have gone the way it went.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
long live the corn cuties.
Yep.
I love the corn
So is
cuties.
that your list?
Yeah.
All right, Jordan. Let's hear yours.
All right. So, I will go bottom up. Um, now
Bottoms up.
for my bottom one, I want to make it very clear. This is not actually a testament to the quality of this campaign.
Mhm.
I just, for whatever reason, could not retain any of it. Like the way Leeron says she's seen Lord of the Rings multiple times and hasn't retained it.
I'm a
Um,
butt.
I don't know what it was. I did not retain most of Escape the Bloodkeep. Like the people there are having fun, and there are genuinely hilarious moments. Like there is one very viral one where Matt Mercer is playing just like this really evil dude, and is like yelling at this like little like I think he's like a halfling artificer that's just supposed to be like fixing stuff up, and he's like,
Mhm.
I just want to kill you, and Brennan just goes, well, I just want to be your friend. Like it's just
So
it
funny.
there's really funny moments, and what's so cool is Brennan, I guess I don't want to spoil it, but like the way like Leon, you said like he probably didn't expect the first episode to go that way. Brennan did not expect choices to be made the last episode of that. And
Yeah.
like I'll tell you guys about it off camera, but I don't want to spoil it. But it's like he
Mhm.
expected like this really big thing that was going to be a very interesting thing for D&D, something that's not normally done, but everyone like did something where that couldn't happen.
Yeah. I
Um,
also will give Escape from Bloodkeep. If you have watched any of Critical Role, it is very fun to watch Matt play as opposed to DM.
Mm,
Which is
yep.
the other reason that I will say Burrow's End or Misfits and Magic is also really good because you get to see Brennan as a player
Same as Ravening War.
and Ravening. I really struggled with Ravening War. I
Hmm.
don't know why. I just had a really hard time getting through it. It's not bad by any means. It's just
Yep.
I for some reason really struggled with it. Um, but watching I really like watching DMs play. It's the same thing with like the 7 with Abria. I had
Yep.
watched her play obviously before DM, but you can when you watch people who DM then play, it's like a whole other because I even get the same thing like
Yeah.
watching Murph play. Like Murph, I feel like is one of the best players at the table.
Hmm.
And it's part of what makes Riz so funny is he's one of the
Yeah.
best players at the
Yeah.
table surrounded by idiots.
yeah.
It's like even in episode 1 of Burrow's End, like it's because Abria's like DMing and talking to Brennan. It's like, oh, two DMs basically talking to each other. Like, how do
Yeah.
you want to do this? It's like,
Ugh,
Yeah.
it's so fun.
yeah.
The second one up is Tiny Heist. Now, the premise for Tiny Heist, fantastic. The sets for it are fucking incredible. The way that it's like it's all a miniature world, and you have people that are
Hmm.
playing bugs, people that are playing like little toy dolls, people the world that Brennan built there is genuinely incredible and cool. And I recommend people watch it for that. And it also is a heist story. And that's pretty much in the title.
Awesome.
And Leon, I know
Love
you want
those.
like a heist D&D campaign, and
Yeah.
there's like really cool things done with it. Um, it's just very much a not for everyone thing because that one features the McElroy
McElroy's.
brothers and McElroy brothers and their dad, and like they all obviously have being just a family that have also made D&D content together for years. They have a vibe and a repertoire already, but then you have other
Mm.
people from College Humor, and they have a vibe and a repertoire already, and like it's not so much that it clashes, but it's like they didn't get one guest, but they also didn't go, oh, it's just the McElroys, but Brennan's DMing. It's like a weird half step
It's the
of,
McElroys and then it's Jess and Lily who don't play a lot of D&D.
yeah,
Mhm.
Lily being if you watch Dropout, Lily is the host of Dirty Laundry and Jess is the host of many things on Dropout, is on a ton of episodes of actually, is on a bunch of episodes of Game Changer. She's very funny. She's a comedian.
yeah. So like it's good, but like it's definitely different. But I recommend watching it just for like really the world and the set building they built, because like there's like one thing that like I'll not even spoilers, just like one set design where everybody's getting drunk off. They couldn't use Four Loko, so they called it Quattro Crazy. But like it's because it's a tall boy can, it's like that's like a fucking like springs
Skyscraper.
to them. Yeah, it's
Yep.
like it's an unlimited endless amount, and like it's fucking fantastic. So like I have to shout out that for just the world building and the
Hmm.
set design. After that, and like to be clear, from here on out I do not really have anything negative to say. It's just like my preferences of the other
Yeah.
ones I've seen. So at number 4 I have Unsleeping City Chapter 1. I really liked Unsleeping City, and I loved all the New York stuff with it, and like the jokes they made. And
It made me cry. It made me
it
so
was weirdly
homesick.
emo at points, and
Yeah.
then like Cugrash, fucking great character in
Oh
every
yeah.
direction. Like I constantly, one, the voice Murph does for him, great. Two, Murph just going, "You want to watch Die Hard? Yeah, cool. That sounds fucking awesome." Like him just vibing, and then and then having to explain, "I'm a rat. I'm a rat man." Like, uh, it's so good, and
It's
like,
such a good
oh
season.
man, Unsleeping City, like, it's just fantastic. Um,
Making the lions outside the library characters is so fun. Like it's
yeah,
Oh
just it's
yeah. Yep.
so I yeah, it's god. That season, there is a part of me that I feel like it's just that I'm a downstate New Yorker, and that's why I'm like, yeah, it's the best
yeah.
season. Um,
Said he's so nice they named it twice, baby.
yeah, like
uh,
the
no,
references to SantaCon and all that kind of stuff are just so fun.
that, and also the like the whole I don't want to like say what it is and spoil it, but I forget what it's called. But Is it the
Sucks.
Sinatra clause?
Sinatra law.
Yes, the
The
Sinatra
Sinatra law,
clause.
like,
If you can make it here, you can make it anywhere.
is so good, and,
That
like
moment, yeah. Yeah.
and also, like, that being, like, well, if this means this, it like, the logic behind how they're gonna use that law, Leon, you'll appreciate this, it reminds me of, like, in Dogma when they're like, "Oh, but if because the church says this, it's gonna actually cause this, like, one
Yeah,
loophole." Yeah. I mean, also, I'll just say is the bagel.
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah. And
It's
number
If
just
you know
3
everything everywhere all at once, it's it's that.
yeah. It's so good. It's such a
But
good
it
thing.
happened before it. Like, I remember I was literally DM because we have a little group chat with us, and that's kind of throughout this past year. Every time we've been kind of update each other on what shows we're watching, and when we get to like crazy moments. And there's a moment when the bagel was introduced when I just DM. It's like I was because I did the research and dug into it. It's like this season happened before everything everywhere all at once, but
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can see this going the same way.
And it's just like that was their 3rd season. And I
Mhm.
will die on the hill that as somebody who has watched almost every campaign Allie Beardsley has played in, the nat 20 that they get in the finale of
Yeah,
Unsleeping City, I had to take a fucking lap. Like it's
yeah,
so good.
yeah. This just an Allie Beardsley appreciation. Like,
I love them.
how does she get those clutch nat 20s in those like moments? That's like they need it. Like, I
I
don't
just
understand how somebody's so lucky.
I told
Yeah.
Jordan this once. I have a crush on Allie Beardsley because of the kind of D&D player they are, and
Yeah.
it's very weird, but I have a very big crush on them.
Uh,
Just because like I'm so deeply attached to every character. Like fucking what's his nuts that she plays during or that they play during A Crown of Candy.
Liam.
Oh,
Liam.
Lee.
Liam's
Yeah.
my favorite. Like I love Liam.
Because he has they have the pig.
His
Um,
peppermint pig.
Uh,
yes,
Oh
yes.
god, it's so good. In the new set for actually,
Mhm.
they have a little Preston on the in the
Preston's the
fact
pig's
checker
name. I
room.
forgot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
oh, I did
Preston the
not realize
peppermint
that.
pig. Yeah.
Uh,
It's with Brian in the little fact checker booth.
Gotcha. So for number 3, I have Fantasy High freshman year, just cause
Yep.
great introduction, great story. The way things come together is fantastic. Classic moments that originate there, and really was the start of it all. Not just for Dimension 20, well, but also like that is the first one that I watched. Like we said, it's the first one we all watched. So like,
Hmm.
gotta respect it. Number 2 is Crown of Candy because
Ooh.
Crown of Candy just like there, I feel like
It
if you
hits.
if you wanted to like make supercuts of the most ridiculous stuff they've done in like the Fantasy High series, you're like these are just this is just a bunch of jokes. It's ridiculous, but like for Crown of Candy, like you can tell they all like agreed like, hey, this is a different tone. We're gonna turn that off. Like even the dumb moments they have are like fitting with it. Like they don't
Right.
cross that line of being overly ridiculous. And like there is legitimate like thriller aspects to that series where I'm like, oh my
Hmm.
god, what the fuck's gonna happen next? Like,
Well, because again, and I don't feel like this is a spoiler because they tell you about it in the beginning, like that being the one where there is not any bringing back from the dead. If you are dead, you are dead. And like they even
Yep.
rolled like backup characters for that. Like is really interesting, especially after Fantasy High, because in Fantasy High you kind of end up in this position where you're like, does death matter?
Yeah.
But
yeah,
Crown of Candy, death fucking matters. And there's a moment with talking about
Same with
Lou
Raven anymore.
Wilson. Yeah. Yeah. Which I do like because hello, can I help you?
Cleo jump up
Sorry.
on the desk.
Yeah, she jumped like but under my microphone arm. So she almost
Oh.
hit the monitor. um
Jeez.
because you're a clueless wonder. What are you doing? Get out of here! Sorry, she's being a menace.
Oh, good.
But yeah, I love when death is real. It's my favorite thing. I have been saying since Stranger Things inception, they got to kill one of the kids, and now it's too late. You can't kill a kid and it be fun anymore. You
They're
had
not
to
kids
kill them when they
anymore.
were small before their voices cracked. But now all of them sound like
Yeah.
grown men, so it's not gonna be fun for me if they die.
Even
That
Millie Bobby
sounds bad.
Brown.
I
Does Millie Bobby Brown
Yeah.
sound like
Yeah.
a grown man?
I like I think more media should kill off children characters without it being a plot device for character growth of somebody else.
Yeah.
Because I just and like they're dead because I just like I don't know. I feel like I've seen a lot of media where death stops mattering and I've become hard against that. And I like worlds where like people are down for the count.
Young Justice killed a character for real, and that was on Cartoon Network. That was before it went to HBO Max.
Well, it's like I just watched the episode of Legends of Korra that is what made them pull it from Nickelodeon and make it an online exclusive and they stopped airing it on cable.
Oh,
It's awesome. It's a
yeah.
great
Or a
episode.
great series. Yeah.
It's
I did not know
crazy.
that. Like something crossed the
I
line
did
to
not
that
know
point.
that.
Something
Um,
happens in I'm in the very last season. I'm in like the final arc of
oh
the
yeah.
show.
Yeah,
They pull
yep. Yep.
there is a death that happens, a full-on death that happens that is I it looks like an anime. As somebody who has also recently gotten into anime, it looks like an I was like, it's crazy. And I watched it, I was like, oh, I fully understand why Nickelodeon pulled this off, but that is cool as fuck, dude.
Mhm.
It's so good. Jordan, you're never gonna watch this, so I'm gonna spoil it in the chat, but you can keep going.
All right. And then my number one is Fantasy High sophomore year.
Yep.
It because it takes everything that from the first and it ups it, and just like it has some of my favorite funniest moments.
Jungle
Just
Down Bim.
Chungle
Jungle
Down
Down
Bim.
Bim!
Oh, he said he was gonna shit in my mouth, and it wasn't gonna be a
Dude,
real
first time
pirate.
first time I watched it, I was dying
That
laughing.
whole like the whole well, one, it's the Lou meeting all the warlocks, right?
Yep.
Then it's the
Yep.
taking them into battle and just the battle doesn't go well. Then it's Chungle Down Bim's reaction. Then it's Chungle Down Bim coming back, or like the Joe coming back later. Then the
Yep.
you're gonna fuck me and you're gonna shit in my mouth, like the way he
Yes.
says it.
Like the little
It's
stutter that he has.
and
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
he's just like hyping himself up, like just accepting it. That and then also the Fabian's grandfather, Gorchug, Chorchug,
Go, Judge.
Joy
Gorjug,
Judge.
Gorjug.
Go,
Yeah,
Judge.
and then always he goes by the end. He goes, I'm putting in real effort. This is the best I could do. Chev.
It's so good too because I feel like that's the beginning of Gorgon being like, I fucking hate everyone around me all the
Yeah.
time.
Oh my god, it's just, it's
Like
so
Joe
good.
Judge.
sophomore year was like that perfect blend of like just the story just going being crazy, but then just some absolutely just wild moments of improv from
Yeah.
them.
Ada
I will.
Eggfort is one of the best characters they've ever
Yep.
created.
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with them. Like they're so
Yeah.
cool.
Yep.
Oh, I will say, as of like right now, I feel like junior year will probably go right now under or below Crown of Candy. So it looks like it's gonna become my two or my three.
Mhm.
Just cause like as to like why it's there right now is one, it's really building off everything. I'm liking
Yep.
the character arcs in a lot of ways. But I'm also liking the mechanics that Brendan has invented with downtime and stress and actually taking this
Yeah.
a real life thing of like we do really overwork teenagers sometimes when you think about it. Like it's fucking ridiculous. And
To be fair, Brennan also went fuck you, Sakoyama specifically.
yeah.
Yeah.
But so there's that, but then there's also the like there have already been three or maybe two or three like different moments where a character has figured something out, I think quicker than Brennan anticipated, and you
Oh
just
yeah.
see the look on his face of like I am so proud of you. Like he's like
Yeah.
wow, like genuine impressed, not even upset that they figured it out that fast. He's just
Yep.
like so relieved and like yo, the mystery's getting so fucking good.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
dude. And
Yeah.
then just bringing back the vulture thing.
Yes.
that
Yeah.
that made me happy.
Yep.
Um
Oh,
I feel like with
that
junior
that
year,
also the I don't know, man. That broke me.
yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing with junior year is it's the first Intrepid Heroes season with the screen dome, the LED dome,
Yeah. The
and
projection screens. Yeah.
it shouldn't add as much as it does, but it makes me so happy.
No,
Like,
like what they have is legitimately like a level of D&D production value. Even though as somebody who has like not yet gotten into playing, but just like something I feel like would be so fun. Like that is the perfect level of like production value. The only like change personally I'd make is rather than a dome, make it more like a just like a kind of like the giant backdrop that Kind of Funny has, of just like that already looks like it's kind of a set and you could do it rather than it being circular. But like that's just a nitpicky, oh wow, I'd
Well,
prefer
I
this
think it
shape.
kind of is because it used to actually be like a physical dome, but I
Yeah,
think
it's
it's
not a
just
dome
screens now.
anymore.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. It's not actually a dome anymore.
It's not
Gotcha.
Yeah.
actually a dome anymore. It used to be. It used to actually be a
It
dome in
used
a
to be one of those like
warehouse.
little igloos you could rent on the
Yep.
skyscrapers in New York City
Well,
in the winter.
kind of, because it wasn't permanent until
Yep.
I mean, this is getting a little bit into why Dropout is just one of the coolest streaming
Yeah.
platforms in existence. But it wasn't until Sam Reichs like bought it and made Dropout, and it started to really get big and he put money behind it, that they were able to have, now they have a permanent dome and they do all of these seasons. I'm so
Yep.
excited.
So, getting into my list,
Let's hear
as
it.
Leeron had mentioned previously, I did not rank Burrow's End just because I'm only on or like halfway through episode 2. Really liking that one so far. And starting from the bottom, I actually also
Now we
just
hear.
finished this weekend the Ravening War.
Mm.
I and that's the thing with this list, my list. I enjoyed all these, but some of them is just one of those like I enjoyed others more. So it's not that I didn't necessarily didn't like it, but the Ravening War is at the bottom of my list right now, just because it was a little hard to get into at first. It was my first non-Brennan DM series that I watched because Matthew Mercer DMs that one. Um, but honestly, I actually did like it because at work we're not really able to like stream things, like actually have it like up while we're working. So
Oh.
I actually listen to it audio only. And because of how descriptive Matt Mercer is, like I felt like I actually almost got more out of it than actually like sitting down and watching it, just because listening to it audio wise and his all his descriptors, like I could really paint the picture in my head.
Listen, I'm telling you, the Calm app or Headspace or any of these meditative things, you want to make sleep stories? Have Matt Mercer do it. He's got such
Yeah.
a nice voice, and the way he describes things is so good.
Hmm.
And all the little, like, that man can make so many weird little noises with his
Yep.
mouth. And it's like it's so interesting to listen to. It's also very interesting to watch because the way he moves his body when he's
Yeah.
flowing between, it's so I
Yeah,
oh
there's a few lunch breaks that I did have Ravening War on, and yeah, I did notice those kind of things. The battle episodes were a little harder to listen to, just because that was one of those seasons where they're not as just descriptive of like, oh yeah, you're actually doing this. So it's like, oh, I'm moving here and doing this and
yeah.
attacking this person. So the battle episodes were a little bit harder to listen to, but I still really enjoyed that one, and the finale just gets absolutely crazy in that one.
Yeah.
Um, one of the funniest moments is just something happens in the finale, and then Zach, oh yeah, his character in that, just just his reaction to it is just one of the funniest Dimension 20 things I've ever seen.
I will also give Ravening War. Watching Brennan Lee Mulligan play a little bitch was very fun. His character's
Yes,
a bitch.
Fun.
at first,
Like
yes. Once you realize like what his actual like shtick is,
he like chills out, but like I think
yeah,
it's partly
I guess
like
my question is like bitch like sassy or bitch like a pussy?
um
Like a wimp.
the second one, the latter
so
one,
he
yeah.
yeah, more of the second one. He plays a little old radish man, and I think it's the voice he uses for it. I just find
Yes.
very off-putting. Because as always, fuck JK Rowling, but it sounds like the voice that Jim Dale would do for Uncle Vernon on the Harry Potter tapes, and I think I just have a Pavlovian reaction to it
Very
to be like, fuck
interesting
this guy.
because
Hmm.
I know you said radish man, and I understand what you mean by radish man because it's a world where everyone's
Food.
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 But
Yep.
because you said radish, I was like, ah, his accent would be Polish because like
No.
No.
Olish,
No.
Nope.
Alish.
Nope.
It's kind of like it's like he is a male crone, and he's just like a weird little like a crone, like a character type, like a crone. Do
Hmm,
you not know what a crone
I do
is?
not know.
Okay, it's a specific type of character in fantasy that's like an old ugly old lady who's like a witch and she talks up like this and it's like Brennan's
Okay.
voice in it just really like upsets me for some reason
Can
and
I
so I
give
don't like his character.
can I give a very dumb example when you would just would Madame Zeroni from Holes be a crone?
Yeah. No, straight up. That's like
Yeah.
considered a crown.
Gotcha.
Um
I know, okay, I get what you mean now.
yeah.
All right. Moving on, a little controversial to our list, but I actually have Crown of Candy next. Um, I did really enjoy that season, but
Yeah.
Game of Thrones, it was a little hard for me to get into, and like I did really enjoy it, but there's times where it was hard for me to follow because there's so many different kingdoms and groups
Mhm.
and figuring out like alliances and kind of like the whole like politics of it all.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
um I think a lot of these feeling is just how I felt like going out of the series in the finale. And the finale in this one left me kind of wanting more. Like it
Oh,
didn't have a
same.
good like follow up, like or not follow up, but like a good like kind of like ending feeling that like the first season of Fantasy High has.
It
You just kind
struggles
of
with
yeah,
I think something high fantasy struggles with across the board where when you have like something it's that big political intrigue and
yep,
kingdoms rising and falling, you kind of do need a follow-up to be like, and this is how this affected the world.
yeah,
Because if you just leave it, it's like, okay, and now what?
yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
You need you need like a 10 pages at the end that's like 1 year later.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, and then following that, I have the Seven. Just absolutely love that series. That was the first time I was introduced to a lot of those people and obviously those characters. Um, absolutely love that, but love the play style, love the chemistry between them all, and the fans just added a interesting aspect to it.
Yeah.
Erika Ishii really loved how she played her character and in
Oh,
that one.
Alec, just wait. Erika
Yeah.
Ishii is something else in Burrow's
Okay.
End.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I can already tell in just the first episode and a half.
'Cause it didn't click for me. I'm gonna tell you this because it didn't click for me at first, and I feel like it's important information to know early on in
Mhm.
Burrow's End. She is a barbarian. She is
Yeah.
a like 80,000-year-old woman, but she's also
Yep.
a barbarian.
Yeah, because
Mood.
one of the subclasses barbarians have is a totem warrior. So
Yeah, and her totem is a dick bone.
yep.
I don't remember from what animal, but there are certain types of animals that have an actual like dick bone.
Yep.
I
The
think
dick
raccoons
bone's
are one of them.
connected to the hip bone. The hip bone's connected to
Anyway,
the leg bone.
following that, I've got Fantasy High, just season one, freshman year, whatever you want to call it. Just first one, started everything, really loved it. Solid season. After that, I've got Unsleeping City season one or chapter one. As you know, I know Jordan and Leeron, since they live very close to it, New York, that connection. But for me, having been nowhere near the city, I actually really enjoyed it. Again, characters, just great moments through it.
It's so magical.
Um, yeah, just kind of just crazy shit going through that
Yeah.
one. And speaking of crazy shit, Mentopolis is my number four. I actually really love that series. It was just one of those because it was one of their like shorter mini series where they brought a bunch of guests in and having Trap and then Freddie Wong just being able to play off of each other, just absolutely just
Yeah.
wild things coming out of their mouths.
Mike
If
Trapp is one of my favorite people on the fucking planet. I love him so much.
if you like seeing Trap play, he is in Escape the Bloodkeep, and he plays a
Okay.
Beastmaster in that, and he like his character is very cool, and the beast he stuck with because like this isn't really a spoiler. It's all takes place in like a version of hell or kind of like a
Hmm.
hellish type of thing. The animal is like a monstrosity.
Hmm.
Yeah, so
And
just like recommend
mhm,
that.
yeah. And one thing with Mentopolis that I thought was interesting was that it's actually not D&D. I forget the name of the game that was kind of based off of, but
Kids on Bikes.
yes. Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
Mentopolis
And
is a kids on bikes. Interesting.
Yeah, Mentopolis is Kids on Bikes. Misfits and Magic is a offshoot of Kids on Bikes called Kids on Brooms, and Shriek Week I think is Kids on Bikes.
okay. Um but that one just Trap he plays a a very bad private investigator in Mentopolis, and Freddie Wong, he plays like the owner of a club, and it's just the two of them together. Like there's times like it was one of those times that I was watching it at lunch and on my lunch break, and it's like I realized this is one I have to watch at home because
Yeah.
just there could just be going talking, just doing their thing, and then they just something just wild comes out of their mouth, and it's like I am just dying of laughter.
And, like, again, I feel like it's another one where, like, the mechanics are very fun. The mechanics are a little
Yes.
different, and they're very fun.
Yep. Following that, I've through episode 9, I've got a junior year of Fantasy High at my number 3 spot. Much like we talked about, just the downtime mechanics and the stress mechanics that Brennan's implemented has made this so interesting. And then it was one of those seasons at first, like I think because we actually watched one of the episodes together one time, and it was kind of the episode. I want to say it was episode like what 5 maybe, where we
Yeah.
were just kind of like, where the heck is this season going? And then like it just finally at the end of that episode, like things kind of started like clicking together. It's like, oh, okay, like we're
Yeah.
finally starting seeing things going. And
Yeah.
it was one of those like at first like it was the beginning part of the season. It's good, but it's if we get into that episode 4, episode 5, and you're just like, okay, what are we doing this season?
Yeah.
Like,
Where is this going?
yeah. And then you get into downtime and just like everything, all hell breaks loose.
I'm so obsessed with that mechanic. I know we already talked
Yeah.
about it, but like I cannot get over how much I love that
Yep.
downtime mechanic. It's so fun.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because
And how
it's like
Riz is the only one that can take stress for other
Stress
people.
for everybody.
yeah, and Bren was like he's like, while Allie only has like X amount of stress tokens, Allie has created like 5 or 6
Yeah.
stress tokens.
Yep.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's such a fun mechanic. It's also so hard to explain. I was trying to explain it verbally to a
Yeah.
friend, and I was like, I'm gonna have to show it to you. It's the only way I can make it make sense.
because like
Yep.
in past seasons, he's just kind of like, and I'm not blaming them for doing this, but it's like kind of yada yadaing through like months of school,
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
know? Um,
Or even on
and
the
it's
Sleeping City, they have downtime in that, and it's like, okay, what's your like 1 or 2 things you're doing in this like couple
Yeah.
weeks?
yeah, but like this one being like an actual like, okay, we're gonna time jump here, but like things are like, for example, the mystery is not necessarily on a complete hold for this long. So we're going to
Yep.
kind of like just touch on the main important things that happened throughout this period of time.
Yeah. And then to round out, I've got sophomore year at my number 2 spot. Again, just it was one of those that it was kind of at the beginning of the pandemic when that one started, so they were social distancing to begin with, so they didn't have like the crazy because and they also were doing it live, so
Yeah.
they didn't have like the crazy battle maps. It was all just
Theater of the
in
mind.
exactly theater of the mind, and that's part of the reason I actually really liked it too because I was still getting started into D&D at that point. So seeing how like actually good D&D players play the way that I was playing it was really cool.
Mhm.
Um, and then number 1, Unsleeping City season 2. I got through that one so pretty recently, but just the story in that season with the dreaming world, what happens there with I don't want to say it because the villain, it's like a really cool moment when the actual villain of the season comes out.
It's so good.
Um yeah. And it's just the story of that season is what really got me through it. And I was sad to see some of the characters from this first season go, but they come back in some really cool ways.
So I'll be honest, that is the only reason that Unsleeping City Chapter 2 is not higher on my list is because I am so deeply attached to the characters that like I'm so attached to that squad from the first chapter that there's a part of me that's like, oh, but like
Yeah.
my guys.
I know you've
Yep.
shouted it out in our group chat before, Alec, but like the
Mhm.
logo treatment for Unsleeping City is
Oh,
also
easily my
peak.
favorite.
So
And just the
good.
little like jingle music that they got at the intro, it's
Yeah.
just like, just give me a full song of just that.
It's
Like,
so
I just
good.
love that vibe.
It brings me just unmitigated joy.
And then again, just like they do in a bunch of the other series and episodes, just another clutch role from Allie in the
Yeah.
finale. Like, it's just
Um,
Totally.
because they've been because they were playing the same character from Unsleeping City chapter 1 where they have like the wild magic rolls and all that, and like one of their reactions they have is Ben Luck, and Kingston has been trying to do a oh my gosh, divine intervention, and for
Yeah.
that, if you don't know, you have to roll a 11 on a D100, which is like next to impossible. Essentially, is kind of the reason why it's divine intervention,
Mhm.
and he rolled a 15.
Ooh.
So she needed to get a 4 on the D4 for Ben Luck.
Yeah. Like it's so
It
again,
was
the
just one of
game
those things that mathematically, so many things that had to happen happened, and just made for such a clutch moment in the
yeah.
finale.
Ugh. I'm also I'm so excited for Fantasy High Junior Year to wrap up. I'm excited to see where it goes, but also because of what they released in their like promo video for all of Dropout, we know the next
Mhm,
season is called Never Stop Blowing Up. And like, what does that mean? Like,
mhm.
yeah, Jordan, it's called Dimension 20 Never Stop Blowing Up. That's going to be season 22, and nobody knows
What? Yeah. Interesting.
obviously it's going to be
Interesting.
a side quest because we're
Right.
finishing up the Intrepid Heroes quest now, but like everybody's like, what is Never Stop like, what does that mean?
Is it like a bunch of viral YouTubers, or is it like suicide bombers?
Literally nobody knows. We're also getting a second season of Dungeons and Drag Queens, which I just started watching the first season, which is why it was on my list at all. I haven't even finished the pilot yet, but it is very fun. Um,
Does
yes, Jordan.
that one have a specific theme to it, or is it just a more traditional, regular high fantasy Dungeons and Dragons campaign, but
Um,
with drag
it's
queens?
it's got like a thing where most of the characters, so like the game takes place in the underworld, so like a lot of the characters are like demons or like the souls of dead people, but it is a little more fantasy based. It's just kind of dark because it takes place in like literally the underworld.
Yeah.
So it's kind of macabre, but beyond that it just it really gets into like it's a very character driven thing so far,
Okay.
where it's a lot like the characters they have are very interesting, and like I don't know, I really enjoy it. And it's for anybody that knows drag, it's Alaska Thunderfuck, who's one of my favorite drag queens. She's so funny. Monaix, Change, Juju B, and Bob the Drag Queen, which I actually didn't know who Bob the Drag Queen was before this season.
That is a fucking fantastic name for a
I
drag
love
queen.
him. He's so funny. Like, oh, Bob the Drag Queen's great. I also highly recommend, if you have a Dropout subscription, that you watch the episode of Dirty Laundry that has the cast of Dungeons and Drag Queens on, because it's so funny. It's so funny. Um, one of the breakout clips was the question for Dirty Laundry was who broke up with their high school girlfriend using Jesus.
Jeez.
Oh, it's
Well,
great.
well, we were gonna try and get into some other discussions on this, but our rankings went a bit long, so I think we are going to wrap it up there. Thank you all so much for watching and listening to us gush about D&D and Dimension 20, one of our kind of passions through this year that we've all been obsessing over.
It's so fun.
And yeah, stay tuned for whenever to our socials so we can hear when we're gonna be starting this campaign.
Because
Until
this
next
campaign
time,
is happening
it
if
is
it
happening.
kills me. If it kills me, this campaign is happening.
This campaign is dedicated to Leeron and Jas will just splash over the end of every episode.
Goodbye.